This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved. I am so pleased that I haven't turned you people on yet. Right.
The wings are like corkscrews.
Yeah, that's right. I grew up in the country, so I know these things.
It almost like wish you could grab hold of them and a bit extra penetration.
Or when you do that, they spin off. Woo!
Yeah.
Right. That's funny. Whee!
Yeah.
Don't ask. Don't ask. Hello and welcome everyone to this week's episode, part 3, I think it is, of the Great Boar Hunt, the wonderful adventure that we are over halfway through now, if everything goes according to plan. The party are becoming very much socialites in the hobnobbing it up in the high class areas of Lindo, and they, at the end of the last session, they found a gruesome discovery on the bed in a certain room. So before we I give you a quick synopsis of what's happening. Hi Zaz. Zaz Esquire says hello to me.
Hi,
and the company. Oh look,
Hi again, Zaz.
Zaz is using some of Chugawugga's zombie faces that I always think are zombies with red lipstick on. But apparently that's not... Do you not think they look like zombies with red lipstick on?
No, only you would think of something like that.
No, I think they are. Anyway, yes, before I give you a quick synopsis of what's the story so far, I'm going to allow the players an opportunity to introduce who they are and who they will be playing. And as always, the first up is Mr. Chugawugga.
Hi guys, I'm Chugawugga. I paid £5 on Fiverr for those emotes, just so you know. £5 they cost me.
The Eddie's Izzard ones.
£5. Anyway, I play Gulliver. He's the youngest member of the party. He travelled to the land of Odis to improve his sorcery skills, sent by his former master, Master Healy. Upon arriving, he found that sorcery was not something that you could practice without being part of an order. So he promptly joined one. He had a choice between the Order of the Kraken, the Order of the Lich, the Order of the Dragon, and the Order of the Phoenix. He chose the Blue Order, that of the Kraken, which specializes in spells involving around communication, transportation, and teleportation. Sorcerers, the most powerful spellcasters on the realm, have the ability to shape their spells however they see fit, changing aspects like the range, the magnitude of them, the number of targets that they can affect, or even combining several spells into a single casting. These all require shaping points, and sorcerers have a limited amount of these. Gulliver also has several minor cantrips at his disposal. They're based around the folk magic school of Mythras spellcasting. Finally, recently injured in the Battle of the Necromancer. he took a very nasty spell to the leg, which left him slightly crippled, resulting in his movement not being very good, and that leg not having as many hit points as the other. So that is my character, Gulliver, and I am going to pass on to the person who plays Hengist.
Thank you very much, Chigwiga. Hi guys, I'm Longshank CPG, and tonight I'm playing the character Hengist. Hengist is a warrior, and very stoic and all that sort of thing. Wears heavy armor, fights with two-handed sword, well, a hand and a half sword, so he can use it one-handed with a shield, or he can use it two-handed. He's not from Lindo or Odist. He travelled across the sea on the same boat as Gulliver. That's where he first met Gulliver and a couple of other members of the party who have since drifted off to do their own things. He is the most recent addition to the great house in Lindo called House Galot, and that's the current story that's sort of floating around on. And he joined after being invited to take part in a great hunt of a great boar that is legendary in the area, and that everyone's been striving to hunt for many years. And with that, I will pass it on to Mr. Pickles.
I am Mr. Pickles, and I play our group's theist, Bartleby Fumus. He serves the light moon goddess Amriel, who allows him to, through her, work various miracles and perform some common prayers that are able to help the people of Lindo. Bartleby is a local to this land and this town, unlike some of the rest of the members, but he doesn't hold that against them. In fact, he's been saved by every one of these party members, at least once, but probably multiple times. Bartleby can't do much in the way of fighting, as he's a theist, but he can heal, can give protection, clear disease and poison, protect from spirits, all sorts of things like that. And as a theist, he draws on a special pool of devotion points that he can use to cast these miracles. Like Gulliver, he also has folk magic, which are mainly just healing, protection, vigor, witch sight, healing, repair, might, giving power and strength through his goddess. Besides his theist abilities, Bartleby is also very much the group's historian, knowing a lot of the local area and in particular Lower Lindo. Bartleby is somewhat obsessed with helping the lower impoverished areas of town. He has just kind of a feeling of camaraderie with the less fortunate. He doesn't feel that same camaraderie with the elites. I'm finding Bartleby does not like the nobles in their overwhelming greed as much as the common. Hengist is cool though. He's stepped in the way of lava for me. And with that, I will pass it on to Medevac.
Why, thank you. Hi everybody, I'm Medevac and I play Hazra Khan. As a late teen, he was separated from his clan, the ghost clan of nomads who wander the northern steppes of Odes, being unseen pretty much from place to place, going wherever their tracks will take them. And one day he was separated from them. He spent a short time trying to find them, but had no...
Is she all right? Dial 999.
I know, sorry. So after a brief stint of trying to find them, he went off and he helped farmers find sheep and so on, and track down bandits for the local sheriffs or towns. And then he fell in with this group here and became their go-to tracker, forager, hunter. He's very good in the wilderness. He's so out of place in cities and with large groups of people or people he doesn't know. He trusts these three individuals, he can't count, with his life. They've helped out many a time. He does have a complete blackened left arm from when he tried to take this strange stone off this man who was after it, and it burnt on his arm, so he keeps that covered up all the time. It's still working fine, it doesn't affect him in any way. He loves his short spear and his scimitar. which he is very adept at using both. He's at the moment he's dabbling in cooking for sorry, it's a bit of a genuine. If he can catch it, he can cook it. And he's also been trying to read a little bit, but not very well. And this is mainly to help him read signs and things along the forest ways. And with that, I shall pass that on to him, Wills. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just... Do we still call you Medivac? Because what was your Twitch name?
Medivac Hoover.
Yeah, I'm still Medivac. I've always been Medivac.
It's still Medivac.
Yeah, it's just...
Even on Twitch, it was Medivac CUK.
Yeah, that's the
right. So Medivac,
but Medivac is still. But I've always Medivac. The Healing Hoover is my second name of my Dark Age of Camelot character.
Your second name. And I do apologise for Hengist because I didn't put his character sheet up when I rotate everybody's round when people are talking. So it's up now.
Second class citizen.
Yeah, Zaz says, the icons look like zombies in drag. And so that's brilliant. Okay then, so I've just put Hengist's character sheet up for a while, just so you can see. I need to
any questions, just ask.
I need to update them actually, because I need to sort out the skills, because they haven't been updated for the skills for a while. So we will move away from this onto this view. And yeah, this is Lindo, the area of Odess where the characters are currently adventuring. They've lived here for quite a while. Number one down here being the infamous hairy hobgoblin, the first inn that they actually came to frequent when they arrived on the continent of Odess. The two very wonderful looking nobles you can see here as Lord Ashton and Lady Harmony Lee, and they are the leaders, or Lord Ashton is, of the House Galot, who is a very gallant house, hard-working, stands up for everything true and just in the world. And every year the three houses of Lindo have what's known as an activity known as the Great Boar Hunt. So the House Macduffs, which the party have encountered before, and the House Emery and the House Galot, and all of them have various positives and negatives to their name. And every year the houses have a series of social events which accumulate with them going out into the forest to try to capture and kill the great boar that is rumoured to live in the forest called Tusker. Sometimes other boars are killed on the way, but nobody as of yet has sort of like nailed Tusker. And whoever does will of course be rewarded with the great boar head in the entrance hall to the house. Hengist decided to join the House Galot and has picked up this storyline from his choice. The other houses also had choices and their own storylines, so we went down via Hengist's choice down this road. And the party, due to the allegiance of Hengist to the house, attended a social gathering, a party. They were all decked out in their finest attire, looking very spiffing, I must say, and they headed off to the party when each character encountered a certain group of people and listened or saw various activities. So just to recap briefly on that, Bartleby got approached by some merchants and agreed to actually represent them in the local church council, believing that charity starts at home. Gulliver met a young servant girl who dropped some stuff and caught his eye, not that it had fallen out or anything. Hazra stood behind a pillar and heard some idle chit-chat and scared the people as he approached and looked around. And Hengist got into a rather interesting conversation with Reginald, who, of course, has suffered several fatal wounds in his life and actually died several times, but that's been it. And there was a lot of tall stories being told. It was while at the party that they were taken outside to meet Harmony Lee, Lady Harmony Lee, who produced a series of notes that was really sort of like saying die, death, and things like this. And it's sort of like almost like saying that she was being threatened. There was some kind of nastiness against her, and she asked the party to almost like look after her. They returned the day after for luncheon at the party at the house once again via Harmony Lee's request, and into halfway through the second course probably there was a scream heard, and the party rushed with Harmony Lee up to Harmony's bedroom, and they opened the door and saw a dead animal on the bed, its blood seeping through the white linen sheets, because it was minus its head. And I think Gulliver dashed over to the window, I think.
I went over to the window to see whether or not it was locked from the inside or not.
Yeah, and I think that's where we actually left it then, didn't we? So Gulliver was inside, and I'll just move us all over to the house. So this is the posh house. So we'll say that this room here is the second floor. So we'll just sort of like move people in. So Gulliver's in over at the window, and the rest of you arrived post haste into the corridor. I think Hazra and Bartleby, I think, stopped various people outside when the scream actually went. Was that right?
That was down at the bottom before we
Yes,
went.
Yeah.
Okay then, so yeah, let me just bring up the adventure, which might be helpful. There we go. And if you remember, it was a dead raven, it looked like, on the actual bed. Yeah, so Gulliver rushes in and goes over to the window, and I think I told you last time that the windows were shut. They don't seem to have necessarily a locking mechanism on them, but they weren't open wide or anything like that. The shutters were closed, etc., etc. So yeah, let's get on. Let's see what happens in part 3 of the Great Boar Hunt. So yeah, what would people like to do?
Bartleby would like to pray.
Bartleby is praying away. Pray away.
Particular prayer. The goal would be witch sight. Bartleby going in, praying for Amriel to give him the eyes to see potential dangers, and just wanting to see if there's any magic afoot.
Okay, cool. So roll your folk magic spell just to make sure that we don't fumble or crit. Yeah, and you sort of like cast the spell. Remind me how does things manifest itself when you...
I would imagine, since this is the one that Bartleby moves his arms around a lot to get his blood pumping so he can properly call upon Amriel's gift, and then when he looks onto things, people might see a small glow behind his eyes, and for him, he'd likely see the magic tinted in a way that like moonlight is revealing it, or a pale light's revealing things.
Got ya. Yeah, and you sort of like scan the room, and you sort of like go right the way, probably paying careful attention to the object on the bed and maybe also the window. I don't think anybody has any sort of like magical items. I don't think Gulliver has any magical items on him.
But I'm not even really looking at my cohorts. They're not dangerous to me.
Yeah, okay then.
Threats, I
So
should
you
say.
sort of like scan round and you sort of like take in the whole room, and there seems to be a complete lack of magical energies here altogether. It seems to be a very mundane room. The bird itself, the raven, is very mundane. There's no magical powers on it, and there seems to be no magic in the room at all.
Good to know.
Alistair will go over to Hengist, and he's knowing that at the moment they're all pretending in a sense to be subservient to Hengist as he's the leader.
That's right, yeah, you are his retainers.
That's right, yeah. So Alistair's going to go to Hengist and he's going to say, Hengist, would you like me to go out to below the window outside and see if I can see any tracks, see if anybody's going that way and going back out that way? Or what are your wishes, sir?
Yes, we can see if there's any tracks leading away from the house in case that's the way they made it in. And then Hengist will turn.
How many Lees sort of like the... She's got a hand over her mouth as she sees the dead bird on her bed. Remember, there's a room directly opposite, so almost like here, there's a room directly opposite with the same doors. It looks like it's mirrored. That door's not open though, and Harmony Lee sort of like just hand over mouth. And if you remember that the last thing she called out was the girls.
Yeah. So Hengist is gently going to take her by the arm, sort of like try and sort of like guide her, so she's not looking into the room. So it's like half turn her, and then say, and he's going to be looking at her in the eye and say, "My lady, where are the girls? Where did you last see them?"
Is Hazra heading outside then?
You muted Hazra.
I'm muted. If he's been given the affirmative, then yeah, he will head downstairs, and so he wants to get there before it's contaminated, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Let me just. It looks like it's ground, but it will be grass when you actually get out there. So you can start moving around here. And Harmony Lee sort of like got her hand over her mouth, and she sort of like staggers back, almost like. As if she's sort of like resting on you, Hengist, as if she's maybe about to faint or collapse, and she stumbles slightly, and it's sort of like you sort of like catch her. I won't ask you to make a brawn roll or anything out like that, because I know what you're like with damsels in distress. And she sort of like says, she whispers almost like once more, the girls, and she sort of like points to the door opposite.
So Hengist will...
Sorry, Alex, my computer's just talking by itself.
There is an intruder in the house.
Red rum.
It says I could not find that list to add it to. Shall I make one? No.
Just say yes, see what list it adds it.
He said, okay.
Would you like me to say your browsing history? No!
The interesting thing was, that wasn't my Alexa Dot, my Echo Dot that's in here. That was this show in the other room. So, I mean, it's...
Oh, my life.
Yeah. So, she sort of like staggers and sort of like points to the door opposite Hengist.
So Hengist is going to look past her. Is the butler and the other sort of like footman still in the
so there's sort of like down here now there's quite a congregation of people. The butler's Perry, if you remember his name, he's at the front. And he's sort of like very stoic and steadfast and sort of like hands behind his back. And all the sort of like the footmen and the servants and the maids are sort of like behind.
Shields up.
And they're sort of like going, oh no, sure. Thank you for the raid, Milk. Thank you very much. Welcome. Lovely to have you along. So Hengist.
Hengist will see. Sorry, you just mentioned the butler's name, and I can't remember what it was.
Perry.
And he goes, Perry, attend to the lady. I need to check the other room.
And he sort of like looks at you, and as if when you say attend to the lady, and he sort of like looks quite shocked for a while, and then he sort of like regains his composure and turns to a maid and says, attend the lady, her ladyship. And sort of like two maids sort of like come bustling out, and sort of like and Harmony Lee sort of goes, oh, like this, and they sort of like catch her slightly and sort of like pull her to one side.
So as soon as
I want to just quickly go over and close the bedroom door.
Yeah. Okay then. Yeah.
So as soon as Hengist sees that Lady Harmony has been caught by the maids, he's going to immediately go to the room opposite and open one of the doors to try and see what's going on in that room, because that's where he's told the girls are.
Yeah. Are you just sort of like pushing the door open? Are you bursting your way in? Are you checking?
Take one. He's going to open one. He's just going to open one. If it's a double door, is it a double door?
Yeah, it's a double door.
So he'll open one, the one that's furthest away from the crowd of servants, so they can't necessarily see him, and he's just going to open it and step through.
Okay then. So you push the door open, and the door quite easily swings backwards, and you sort of like step in, and you sort of like notice that at the far end of the room by the window there's the two girls who I've forgotten their names, but I have
Dottie and Darcy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and they're sort of like over by the window, sort of like playing with the dolls, and they sort of like quickly look around and are quite taken back by this fella bursting into the room, and one of them sort of like stands up. One of them seems quite timid and sort of like shrinks back, and the other one seems a lot more forceful and sort of like stands up, and she says, "Who are you, and what are you doing in my bedroom?"
Hengist will, seeing that they're quickly glance to the room to make sure that they are. It's just those two in the room.
Yeah, make a perception check for me, please. Hengist is always good with his perception. Yeah, it looks like there's two of them and two dolls, and that's about it. No furniture, no nothing.
It's just two girls. They've not even got dolls in their hands.
It's a cell.
So Hengist will say, my deepest apologies. I'm Hengist, a recent addition to the house. I was just inquiring on your safety. As I can see, all is well. I'll leave you to it for the moment.
Yeah, and as you
take a half step back out of the room.
Yeah, and as you sort of like try to take that half step backwards, Harmony Lee sort of like comes bursting through the door and shouts, "My darlings, my darlings!" And one of them sort of says, "Oh, mother, stop over dramatic. What is the problem?" And she sort of like goes off, and she sort of like grabs them and pulls the children towards them, and they're rather resilient to it, as if to say, what's all this? And she sort of like frantically kisses them on their heads and holds their faces and kisses them once again. And meanwhile, outside, Hazra eventually gets round and just so you know, Hazra, as you sort of like come round here, you haven't there's been no sign of anybody around here.
Around.
No, so you figured that the area is probably just as it was.
Yeah. Just casting his mind back, can Has remember it was a cat on the bed this time, wasn't it?
There was a raven.
A raven, sorry.
Close.
Yeah, sorry.
Both are animals.
With blood. Was the head there or not?
It wasn't there. It was.
Brilliant,
it
thank
was
you.
decapitated.
Right, with no head in sight.
Not
Okay.
that you saw, but nobody actually had a good look or anything like
Right.
that.
Okay. Well, I'm good. I want to be looking directly below the window. I want to be looking all over the grass to see what if there's any grass been pushed down in any way. I'm looking for any kind of trace or tracks.
Cool.
Of
Go for it.
anything moving. Yeah.
Roll your tracking skill.
Oh, that took its time.
Ooh.
And it was worth it.
And it was worth it. Yeah, you sort of like look around and you're quite surprised, to be honest with you, because none of the ground around or underneath the window or under any of the windows at this side of the mansion seems to be disturbed at all. There are various shrubberies and bushes around, but nothing that would, if anything had come out the window or gone up to the window from this point, you would have most definitely have seen, whether or not it would be the foot of ladders being put up or people landing or whatever. But the whole area seems absolutely pristine. It's well tailored, almost like the perfect looking lawn and shrubbery that you would expect from this noble house.
No problem with that. I will head back in again because if that's the case, he doesn't need to look anything else.
Okay, so
you're here anyway.
Yeah, you'll start making your way round, and we'll go back to Gulliver and Bartleby, who's still in the room with the door closed.
So after closing the door, Gulliver's going to turn to Bartleby and he's going to say, "Bartleby, why a headless raven? Does it mean something?"
It might have some meaning, but
why not a headless chicken or a goat? Well, a goat would be a bit harder than to get into the house, but why not something else small that's headless?
Well, I presumed it had some importance to either the symbol of the message or to the casting of the magic. I would think you, or a spiritualist, might know more about the value of different dead animals. But I sense no disturbances here. Amriel has revealed nothing. Though, I wonder, can Bartleby go and look under the bed just to make sure there's nobody hiding under there?
Yes.
Just mid-sentence, he starts walking away from the shoulder.
So you don't need to roll a perception roll to see who's under the bed or what's under the bed, but you sort of like Gulliver. You see Bartleby probably look a bit puzzled for a while, and then sort of like think. Almost like realization dawns on his face, and he sort of like leans down and goes down on his knees and slowly lifts up the edge of the sheet to look underneath. And you look underneath, and Bartleby, and it's a bit dark underneath the bed, and the sheet seems to sort of like flop over all sides, but even when you lift it and a bit of light goes in, it seems to be immensely tidy and clean underneath there. The maids are obviously doing a very good job of cleaning, but apart from that, there's not even a speck of dust underneath there.
Oh, good. I was worried this might be the work of goblins. They like to decapitate animals and leave them places as warnings, commodities.
So we're saying it's goblins?
No, I'm saying it's not goblins. It probably would have left more of a mess. But I had to make sure. Many of the stories of goblins end with feelings of safety, and then they're just hiding in a small place. In this case, I think it's not so much somebody's trying to use the dead body to cast something. I think this might be a message. What would a bird mean to this
Message
family?
in a raven. Sorry.
But a raven without a head. Maybe it means don't lose your head.
Possibly. Does your school order of the communication, do you think they know anything about the meaning of symbols like this? their libraries, perhaps?
There might be, but it's going to take me ages to look through the library and find out this. I mean, we don't have any reference else to go for apart from a headless bird.
True. Perhaps the headless bird means.
By the time I found something else, Hengist will probably have got back and, I don't know, probably joined the guard again.
That'd be a fun time. There's some very nice people in the guard, Gulliver. Some very honest working people.
Bartleby, friend of the guards. I forgot about that.
Perhaps a bird is symbolic of this house of Galot, or symbolic of another house. Maybe they're trying to send a specific message.
Maybe Hengist will know. Maybe the raven is a symbol of another house.
Yeah, let's go talk to him about coat of arms. He knows a lot about that stuff, I'm sure.
That funny fish on his.
Fish. His was a horse.
Was it?
Well, now that I don't remember, let's go find Hengist. We're getting nowhere in this bedroom.
Are you two heading out into the hallway then?
Can I just say I've heard that many a time?
Yes. To answer the question.
I got it now. I was trying to figure out what was funny about are you two heading out into the hallway?
We're not getting anywhere in the bedroom.
Yeah, so Bartleby and Gulliver, you sort of like step out into the hallway, and you can see Hengist in the doorway, and the room opposite, you can see Harmony Leaf cuddling and kissing her twin daughters, and Perry sort of like comes up to you all and sort of like says, excuse me, should we remove the offending item?
Did it be removed, Hengist, or not?
Have you managed to deduce anything from
Yes,
it?
yes, it's black and it's dead.
I will get the gardeners to remove it. And he sort of like turns around and clicks his fingers, and two smartly but grubby people sort of like rush forward, and Perry sort of like looks down and sees their boots that are still a little bit muddy from working in the garden somewhere, and sort of like sighs and sort of like clicks his fingers at another couple of maids who dash off to get water and a cloth, and you can see anybody who's looking inside, the gardeners sort of like come in and they just sort of like wrap up the bird and with sheets and pillows and everything, and sort of like wrap it up, and then sort of like bundle it out outside, and sort of like down the stairway into the out into the garden, and probably you're not too sure where. Harmony Lee sort of like looks up and to you, Hengist, and sort of like says, "Thank you so much, Master Hengist. You have done me a great favour. Is it gone?"
It is being dealt with, my lady. Yes.
You are a true noble gent. I don't know what my Lord and Master Ashton will say about this. One of the girls says, "Say about what, Mummy? Mummy, what is going on? Hush, my dears. Hush, Mummy is talking. Please. What? Should I tell him? Or should I just pray that he does not find out?"
I believe it may be best coming from you. After all, a number of your household staff have now seen this. You may overhear it from one of them. So perhaps it would best be coming from you.
I will.
If you wish me to be.
I will speak to him once he returns. I do not know how he will take this. Take what, Mummy? Oh, do be quiet, my darlings. Mummy is talking. Play with your dolls. I don't know what to do. I really do not know what to do.
If it's any easier, my lady, I'm happy to mention this to your husband.
No, you are right. I need to have courage in this matter. I need to gird my loins and talk to him directly about it. I just hope he doesn't take it negatively and pull out of this great boar hunt. This means such a lot to him and to our house.
If it will assist, I'm happy to lend my retainers to your protection if he wishes to still participate.
I think I am not too sure who needs the protection at this stage. My lord, myself, or even my lovely daughters. Oh, we are lovely, aren't we, Mummy? We're very lovely. Yes, my darlings. Mummy loves you lots. Now play with your dolls. And they sort of go like this over in the background.
Hazra will come back up and he'll mention to he'll go to Hengist and say, so that he's gone, he's back. He'll say to Hengist, so there was nothing below the window. The lawn is the most beautiful grass I've seen in a long time. It's perfect. There is no disturbance, no nothing there. What do you wish me to do?
That's good to know. Nothing for the moment, Hazra. I think we need to... And then Hengist will look over the top of Hazra to see if the crowd of servants are still there. He's assuming that they are.
No, the servants have sort of like dissipated. There's only two maids there now. Perry is stood off to one side, sort of like back to the wall, just as if he's on guard, but really on duty. And there's two maids slopping what appears to be warm soapy water on their marble floors, removing the dirty footprints that the gardeners have left.
But noticing the two maids, Hengist will sort of like drop to a low tone of voice so that only the four of them can hear, and say, perhaps if there was no tracks outside, it could be one of the staff. I think we should keep an eye out.
Again, in the same low voice, Hazra will say to Hengist, there was no head on the bird. So if somebody is taking the head away, surely there may be the telltale signs of blood on the floor. And these maids are cleaning this part here at the moment.
That's true.
Do you want me to go into the room and have a look, see if we can see any blood on the floor?
I don't think there's any need for that for the moment.
No. Yeah, I understand.
I would have thought been too contaminated by now, after we've all been in the room. It's more...
I haven't been bleeding.
That's very fortunate, Scalar, that you haven't been. Hengist doesn't know that.
I love that.
My suspicion is falling on one of the footmen who first found the room. After all, he was the closest to the room. Perhaps it could have been him.
What about the other man?
Well, anyone who's had access to this room
The other
today.
man that we saw running out as we were coming in, the same man that we saw on the night of the party.
That's true. It could be him as well. I think we need to try and find out who he is.
Or perhaps we could ask a question of the lady. Ask her when she found the letter in her bedchamber. Because if it was last night, then that could mean that it was him who had placed it again, and then we can try to find out who he was.
It's a very good idea, Gulliver.
I know you would probably have come up with it eventually.
Thank you, Gulliver. So Hengist will, at that point, turn to see if Lady Harmony has finished sort of with her children, and if he'll try and attract her attention in some way.
Yeah, she is sort of like playing with the with the girls and their dolls at the moment.
Okay, so he will sort of like hover in the doorway, and then sort of make a sort of noise, and then say, "My lady, have you a few moments?"
Okay, yeah, roll your courtesy skill for me to see whether or not you can cough at the right moment and be noble like. And yeah, you sort of like pause, you time it just right, and all Hengist's airs and graces comes forward, and the cough is just of that right moment, as if to say, and she sort of like looks at you and smiles and turns to the girls and says, "Mummy will be back shortly. You just sit and play." And she wanders over to you and says, "Yes, Master Hengist."
My lady, I was wondering if you had a few moments. My retinue and I have a couple of questions that may lead and assist in the inquiry. He'll glance at the girls and then look back at Lady Harmony, the situation.
And Harmony Lee sort of like looks directly at you in the eyes and says, "Anything, Master Hengist? How can I help?"
We've seen a particular person, and then Hengist will try and describe what the person looks like, and say, is he has he been in sort of like in the house a lot recently? It's just was he in the house when there was they found the letter last time?
"Oh, Master Hengist, I don't know what to say. I'm not too sure what you are implying here. I am extremely faithful to my husband."
That's not what I'm implying. It's more, are we considering that he...
I have come over quite faint at the thought of it. I suggest...
I meant no offence.
I suggest that you leave me. I do not feel in the right frame of mind to discuss with you any longer. Could you roll your willpower, please, and take 35 off it before you roll it?
I only have 25 willpower.
Well, roll it then. We'll see what the dice roll comes up. I just need to see whether or not you fumble or not, basically. Yeah, you sort of like no. So even if you reverse that would be a 6. And remember, 0 to 5 always succeeds, no matter what. Just like a 99 and 100, 95 or above always fails. I think that's what it says. Anyway, you sort of like, she sort of like says this thing, and you really take the hint from it, and sort of like says, "Yes, my lady, I apologise for any wrongdoings or harm or."
Offense, I apologise.
And you sort of like back out, and the rest of you see Hengist sort of like coming out backwards, bowing as as he comes out, and Lady Harmony Lee sort of like comes up to the doorway, and she says, "Master Hengist, just before you leave, would it be possible for you to go into Lindo and escort my husband?" And she says it with that certain to it. "My husband safely back here."
Of course, my lady. Where would I find him in the city?
He will be meeting with Reginald. I think you met him at the party.
I did, yes.
Until later, Master Hengist, thank you very much for your time and your expertise, and please do pass on my thanks. And even though you are all stood round Hengist, she says, "And please do pass on my thanks to your retainers at an appropriate moment.
Of course, my lady.
And she says, until next time, Master Hengist. And just as Hengist goes, yes, she goes, ka-chung, shuts the door.
Gulliver's going to say, so when was the letter found, Hengist?
She didn't tell me when I questioned her about the connection of the letter and the person.
What connection with the letter and the person? You had to ask. All you had to say was, "Did you find the letter last night?" And she would have said yes or no. And then that would have allowed us to. If she had said no, I found it 2 days ago, then it wouldn't allow us to take him out of being a possibility. Did you ask whether or not it was all right if we questioned some of the servants? Or you questioned some of the servants?
I didn't know, but she's.
Did you ask her whether or not the Ravenhead had any significance to her at all?
No.
Does it have any significance to you? Do you know anything about the other noble houses in Lindo?
Hazra, sorry, can you roll a perception roll for me, please?
I certainly can.
Yeah,
That's a 56 out of, 56 out of 90.
While Gulliver is quizzing Hengist with all these questions, you sort of like notice that the almost like just underneath the door as the light shines, you can see that there's a shadow blocking it slightly, and you come to the conclusion that you think maybe Harmony Lee is just on the opposite side of the door, even though the door is shut. You sort of like get this feeling that she may just be. You can just sort of like see that black shadow coming underneath the door.
With that, I will interrupt Gulliver, and I'll just tap him on the shoulder gently and then point towards the shadow that I can see on the floor. And then he'll do this with his lips.
Anyway, I think we best get on with the next task that my lady's given us to go and collect and escort my lord back to the house from the centre of town.
Certainly, sir. Do you know where Reginald is?
You can probably ask Perry or your own butler, Hengist.
We'll ask Perry the butler on our way out, because he should surely know.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you.
And with that, Hengist will sort of start trying to walk away from Gulliver and his awkward questions.
Yeah. Okay. So is the idea that you're all going to leave the house now?
Yes.
As Hazra is walking away from the bedroom, he does want to look at the floor, and he just wants to see if he can see any telltale signs of blood splatter or, any droplets of anything. Just his own.
Yeah,
it's what he does. It's what he does.
Yeah. So, roll a perception check for me. You can't see any signs of blood. There might have been some in the corridor. You're not too sure. Nobody looked on the way up, and there's two maids now soaping it down, getting rid of muddy footprints left by the gardeners. And you sort of like all file out. Gulliver,
can Gulliver ask a question to Perry when after Hengist has asked for directions to?
Yeah. So you sort of like Perry's down in the main hall now, and you sort of like set off down the stairs, and as you go past, the maids obviously stop their cleaning and sort of like go sort of like shuffle to one side as you sort of like start to walk over their clean floor. And you sort of like walk past. And Gulliver, can you make a perception check for me, please? Yeah, and
I'll use a point of luck.
Yeah.
To reverse that.
Okay then. So as you go past, Hengist leading the way and everybody following. The two maids on the landing sort of like keep their heads down in a sign of respect, if nothing else. And you notice, Gulliver, that as you pass by, one of the servants sort of like looks up, and you recognise the face of the girl who dropped the crockery or the plate at the party, and she seems to almost be looking at you. And roll an insight check to see whether or not you can figure out what is happening.
I got a 79 out of 71.
Are you leaving it like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And she sort of like walks past. You walk past, and you sort of like she sort of like looks up and catches your eye, and she gives you half a smile. There's one side of her mouth twitches upwards as you pass, and you sort of like.
I'll just say, "Oh, hello again."
And she just sort of like puts her head back down, and you notice that the other maid sort of like jabs her with her elbow, and she sort of like looks back down again as you sort of like follow the entourage down. And in the actual, when you get down to the entrance hall, Perry is there. So Hengist, you ask where Reginald's place is, and an appropriate location in the, not on the hill. It seems to be more of his establishment. It seems to be some kind of fine winery, not exactly a bar, but something similar, almost like the modern day gentlemen's clubs and things like that. Gulliver, I think you said that you wanted to ask.
Yeah, so Gulliver will phrase it towards Hengist, and he'll say, "Forgive me, Hengist, but you asked me to remind you to ask Perry whether or not any new servants had been employed within the last week."
Oh yes, of course. Thank you, Gulliver. Harry, has the house employed any new servants recently?
Yeah. So roll your courtesy skill. Oh.
Hengist is on fire.
We have now found Hengist's strength.
And it wasn't fighting.
When it comes to courtesy, he's
the man.
That's amazing, that roll. Okay, then. Yeah, and Perry seems to sort of like, he seems to really sort of like taken to you, Hengist, and you probably talk to him as if to give him a bit of self-esteem, almost like say, almost like Perry, my old chap, or something like that. And he really sort of like takes to you, and he sort of like directs you to the to Reginald Place. Then Gulliver says these things, and he sort of like leans closer into you, and he said, "The same thing had crossed my mind, Master Hengist. No, the last servant we took on was almost like 2 years ago now, 18 months to 2 years. It was the young servant girl, Bonnie. She was the last one to be employed here. Yes, a simple girl, I would like to say hard-working, but alas, it is not as hard-working as some of the other members of staff here. But yes, quite simple, I would say.
Ah, I see. Thank you very much, Perry. Would there be any that you sort of not trust too much?
Well,
Or
Mr.
have
Hengist.
slightly spotted a character?
Yeah, well, Master Hengist, there is something else, and as both being men of the world, as you can say, and after such a fantastic courtesy skill that you rolled, I would like to impart another rather dubious comment, and he suddenly stops and becomes upright as a maid sort of walks past, and who sort of like slows down, and he sort of like looks at her, and she sort of like curtsies a bit to Perry and carries on walking. Yes, Master Hengist, there has been a gentleman. Well, yes. Well, perhaps one should say, using the common lingo in the rather lower class areas of Lindo, which I am sure you have no understanding of, but what some of your retainers, and he looks at you, Hazra, may be familiar with. There's been some kind of lad, I think the term is, or dandy fellow, I think is often used as well, who's been seen around the villa. Well, I have to say too, and please, Mr. Hengist, do not consider me a poor butler when you hear this from me. I have even seen him with inside on a number of occasions, but only a fleeting glance as he either ducks inside a room or vacates the property. I am not too sure of his name, but I would only say that he's probably not the most desirable person in the whole of Lindo, if one gets one's meaning, sir.
I do, of course, and of course I won't say where I heard this information.
Oh, I appreciate that so much, Master Hengist. Thank you so much for that. And please remember that if you need any further assistance, then I am humbly at your service.
Of course, you will be my first port of call. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And do give my fond regards to your servant, your butler as well, Alfred. Yes.
Of course, I will do.
I have known him for some time. I hope he stopped his nasty habit and grown out of it.
Angus will raise her eyebrow at that and say, yes, thank you.
I am pleased to hear it, sir. And he takes a step back and opens the door and says on the way as you go out, please have a fine afternoon and evening, Master Hengist.
Thank you, Perry. I shall endeavour to.
And just as you go out, he puts a hand out in front of you, doesn't touch you, he does. I think the house should be very welcoming of a person such like yourself. I feel that you will be able to do good things to the House Galot. I'm sure Lord Ashton feels the same.
Thank you. I definitely look forward to working and furthering House Galot's good name.
Yes, mate. And he bows slightly to Hengist, and as he walks,
and incline his head slightly, and then
as Hazra walks past, he goes and looks down his nose, and
Hazra doesn't even notice because he too has his eyes down as he's walking behind Hengist.
And as Bartleby walks past, he gently, a man of the cloth, of course, gently passes his hand, and then Gulliver comes limping behind with his gammy leg, and Perry just ignores Gulliver as you leave, and you head on down the driveway. If you remember, there's a huge driveway, a huge walkway, and you head down and out of the gate, so you're probably out of earshot range of the house now. Remember, you had luncheon, so it's probably about mid-afternoon now. It's about 2 o'clock. So Noble Hill is quite busy. The Great Boar Hunt is underway, and there's people hosting parties at the houses and luncheons at the houses, and there's very well dressed people, the nobility of Lindo, sort of like walking around the streets as if they walk every day, while they normally have people carry them or ride carriages, and they're sort of like walking around, sort of like making polite conversation. So I'll put you back onto the map of Lindo, so you can tell me your next plan of action. There you go.
Thought I'd head back to the Order, Hengist, to see whether or not I can find anything in the Order's library about the significance of a headless raven.
Of course. I will. Shall we meet? I am going to find Lord Ashton and make sure he gets back to the house safely.
I will come with you, Hengist.
Okay. Hengist will turn and look to Bartleby and say, "Is there anything you would like to do, Bartleby?"
Well, Gulliver and I had started to wonder what the significance of the raven was. I was curious if you knew anything more about the coat of arms and the representative animal of any of these houses. It strikes me as taking the head off of a bird, if the bird was, say, Galot's symbol. Taking off the head seems like a threat to kill the head of the house. Do you know any of the animals? Perhaps that could clear up my thoughts.
Inwils, would Hengist possibly know a little bit more about sort of threats to houses in general?
Yeah.
With his law society role.
Tell me what your law roles are. Do you have a heraldry role or anything?
He doesn't have any heraldry roles or anything like that. He doesn't know very much at all. He knows the names of the three houses in Lindo and Count Bastion, but that's...
Yeah. Does he? What are his law or knowledge skills that he actually possesses? I know he has strategies and tactics.
He's got strategies and
got
tactics.
law, nobility, Otis.
No. He's got law, military history, but that's sort of like the military history of the land that he came from.
Okay.
And then he's got law, sort of society, which is sort of the way he would understand it would be sort of like, you've got noble houses and these are the sorts of things they would get up to.
Okay, so roll your military history one. That's probably the closest that we can get to it, and I will adjust it suitably. Yeah, you sort of like who said the initial question? Sorry, was it Bartleby?
Yeah, and my question was just what are the animals used to represent each of the houses mostly?
Yeah, and you, Hengist, you know that heraldry often has animals associated with them, normally very fierce animals or grand animals like lions and dragons and phoenixes and krakens and things like that. You're not aware of anything that has a raven on it at all.
Hasra will go to Hengist and say, but didn't she also have a dead cat on her bed before when she said this?
She did.
So
the first time it was found.
It was a cat, wasn't it, the first time? So we are fixated at the moment on this raven. But what about the cat? Could it not be just somebody trying to scare her, just to make her afraid by putting these things in the bed? It could even be her husband. He may know about the affairs that she's having because she's a good net. Because they were talking. Yeah, it's close. Because the ladies in the hall were saying about her affairs she was having, about the way she is with people all the time. Maybe her husband might have found out, and maybe he is doing this to maybe frighten her out the house. I don't know.
Perhaps you're right, Hazra. Perhaps it is maybe more to do with the fact that there are common dead animals in the house. and with their placement, that may have more of a distinct message than the type of animal. I'm not sure though.
Just to let you know,
Search up on a raven or not?
You can do Gulliver, yes, and any other sort of animals in beds, messages of deliberate leading to bad.
That would take ages. Any animals in beds? That'd take ages to search for.
So like raven.
And some very dodgy books too.
Just so you, sorry, Hengist. The only time, just when Hengist mentioned the dead cats and things like that, the only time you've heard of felines in the military history and heraldry or anything like that, it's really been sort of like the more grander, big cats or stealthy cats. Definitely not the domestic cat of any description.
It'd be an insult of sorts if they used a cat and the representative of Galat was a jaguar.
It could easily be.
As we're walking down out of the noble section of Lindo, Gulliver's going to say to Hengist, so what's going to be the plan, Hengist?
Well, I'm going to make sure that Lord Ashton gets back to his house safely, and then I think if you ask around and look in some books in your order to see if there's any mentions of.
I know the plans now, but what about in the future?
Well,
I mean, you're going to have to convince the Lord that his wife and children are secure in our hands. Otherwise, he's not going to go out on the hunt. And if he doesn't go out on the hunt, then he'll probably call off the house's side, and then, well, you won't even get a chance to go out there and be part of the house.
That's true, of course.
But I'm worried about having to look after or keep them safe because, well, you're not. You're acting like we're not friends. You're acting like we actually work for you now.
No, of course not, Gulliver. You, of course, are my closest friends. But a pretense that we have to go through.
Well, no, you have to go through it. We don't. I'm still Bartleby's, and I'm still Bartleby's friend. But all I'm thinking is that they're not really going to take any notice of us because me and Bartleby and Hasra, well, we're nobody in the house, are they? So if we say stay in this room, they're going to go, no, be gone, peasant, or something like that, and that's hard.
Speak to Lord Ashton to see if we can get it so that you are in charge of the family's safety and that they would respect your sort of like those sorts of the instructions that you would give if there is a situation like that.
I was thinking maybe you could suggest to them that maybe that they could go and stay somewhere else. It'd be a lot easier for us to protect them. If they were travelling. Maybe go and see a sister, or even if the children were sent somewhere, and then we would only have to worry about protecting her until her husband was back.
Hengist, you will, as Gulliver mentions that, that the great boar hunt is of great significance in Lindo, especially within the nobility and the three houses. If a house said that they were not participating or the main people were not there, then it wouldn't look very good on that house at all.
Okay.
Well, as you will, hearing Gulliver say this about taking the wife to a different location, why not take her to maybe Hengist's house with the children, or maybe even to Count Bastian to visit, perhaps. There's no safer place than the head is there. You're Hengist. You are very, you are very affable. You are very in the good books with Count Bastian. Maybe he will look after them. We haven't worked for him before, so maybe just a thought. I don't know how your city works, but
good idea. Hasra, we can we can discuss it. And but yes, my house is also an optional for other family members of Lord Ashton, of the family.
Won't that be frowned upon? Going to stay in a bachelor's house?
Not if she has a trusted servant or two with her.
Well, no,
And of course, I'll be ideally, I'll hopefully be with Lord Ashton on the hunt, so they can't really wag their tongues too much if I'm not there.
Time's passing as you walk down the road. I think where we were at to was that Hengist was going to Reginald's.
Yes.
Yeah. Gulliver was going back to his order to do some library work. Hazra, I think you were going to go with Hengist.
I was, yes.
Yeah.
He's got to have one retainer with him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So.
And what about Bartleby? What is Bartleby going to be doing?
If Hengist doesn't seem like he is wanting Bartleby to go along, then Bartleby is going to go do research. Particularly,
happy to have Bartleby there. It's entirely up to Bartleby if he wants to be there.
Yes.
If you're not formally requesting me, then Bartleby's going to just go do some research on the houses to answer animal questions and to see if he can find out anything from his church's library. So I get that it's probably not the best source.
Yeah. Okay.
But I might use my lore history as I'm reading the books to see if I can.
Okay, so let's sort of like dot around everybody's and sort of like take each other in turn. So let's go first to Gulliver as he goes back to his order and to sort of like research in the library. Yes, Gulliver, what are you looking for? What skills are you using, etc.?
So Gulliver will go up and have a word with Maud, the chief librarian there, and he's going to ask her where he can find books concerning dead animals being left as warnings.
Right.
Maybe some type of ritual or...
Well, she can direct you to, if you want to look on things about rituals.
Rituals, then.
Yeah. Does she ask you whether or not it's any particular source of magic that you're interested in? Are you interested in primitive magic or... civilized magic?
I think it's probably going to be something primitive. So he'll say primitive.
Okay, then.
But he'll say primitive.
Yeah, so she directs you to right at the back of the library, really down on the bottom lowest shelf ever. And she sort of like points at a rather small, flimsy looking book that actually looks like its parchment's been sewn into some kind of animal hide, maybe even pig or hog, and it seems to be mainly she sort of like says, oh, that might be useful to you, Gulliver. And you sort of like take it off and put it on one of the reading tables, and it has no sort of like formal writing on it. It seems to almost be like almost like pictograms, and there's a circle on the front of it that has sort of like dots at various points. It has 13 dots around, and then each of the dots are sort of like some of them are joined across the circle, some of them are not joined, and it seems to be some kind of, I mean, it looks roll your do you have an Order of the Kraken skill?
I do.
Yeah, roll that.
I'll use a point of luck to swap the numbers around.
Yeah, it looks almost like a primitive form of the mark spell that would be laid on the floor for portals. That's roughly what it looks like, and you sort of like flick through and start to have a look. Do you have any particular skill that, what is it? Is it Call of Cthulhu that has library use in it? Yeah,
No,
I
don't.
love that.
Classic.
I just have I have literacy, rune knowledge, literacy common, literacy, runology, perception, and that's it.
Right, okay then. So roll your what was the knowledge skills? That's what I'm trying to, rather than understanding. What knowledge skills do you have? Sorry again. Like
None.
law.
None.
None. Okay then. So roll your literacy skill.
Normal.
Yeah. Yeah, you sort of like look through this book. It seems to be a series of circles to draw in order to invoke magic. You sort of like look through it, and there seems to be some similarities to your own magical school. For example, there seems to be a circle that you notice tires people out. And, you know, it seems to almost like be hedge magic, sort of like really primitive folk magic. But it seems to be of a more of a ritualistic approach. So rather than sort of like casting it just like that, it's almost as if primitive people almost like drew circles on the ground, made various animal sacrifices to summon forth the magic. You're not too sure whether or not all the animal cutting off heads of animals and spraying blood around and drinking or eating eyeballs was actually necessary, but it seemed to be their belief of how to do it. And within the book, there's a number of animals that seem to be having to be butchered, slit open, beheaded, wings pulled off. They seem to be very what you would class as probably domestic or basic animals. Things like birds that you would find like ravens or crows. There seems to be an abundance of black things. You know, decapitate a black cat or a black toad or black mouse. And you're not too sure whether or not it's to do with the connection with some kind of dark magic, or whether or not it's just sort of like the primitive people and their belief. Perhaps the magic was sort of like shunned, or they were very suspicious of it. And yeah, so you're sort of like there and you're spending your time flicking through the book. So let's zip across to Bartleby. Yeah, what are you getting up to, Bartleby?
I was hoping to research more about the houses and their heraldry, since that's something Bartleby doesn't really know.
Yeah, okay then. And which skill are you using?
I don't have a library use skill, but I was hoping that I might be able to use my lore history to use the knowledge I already have to help guide in the right direction of what books might be.
Okay then. Yeah, so roll your lore history.
Big money. Could I use a point of luck?
Yeah, and just to reverse it to give it 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be tasty
Okay
enough.
then. So you sort of like start perusing and find an appropriate history book. Out of interest, the noble houses of Lindo do not have animals representing them. They actually have their initial letter stylized on any official document or anything like that. And you figured this is probably correct because it would come down the male line of the nobility, so that initial letter is probably going to stay the same all the way through. You do find out that House Galot is the newest member of the houses. The House Macduff actually goes right the way back in time to where the plague was found out in the slums. I don't know if you remember the back history of it, when it's rumoured that it's solved itself, but there are suggestions that the whole thing was set on fire. The whole slums were set on fire from the walls of upper class Lindo, and to let everybody in there burn and so sterilize the area. The only other thing that you find is that there's been frequent disputes between each of the houses. There was a huge dispute early on where Macduff and House Avery actually lodged a formal protest about House Galot becoming one of the noble houses. You can tell that not Count Bastion, but the Count of the Lindo those years ago actually made a ruling that the noble hill was big enough for 3 noble houses, and it was told that the noble houses were told that they had to live in harmony or vacate. And so it was sort of like sorted out. When I say house rivalry, it seems to be petty things. It's not an outright war or anything like that, and it's nothing. It's almost like so damaged a tree in the garden of, or this person knocked over a precious vase while visiting so and so. So it doesn't look as if the houses get along well together. There seems to be a lot of friction. But saying that, there's nothing in your reading or anything like that you sort of like bring up and think, oh my giddy aunt, what's that? You see, it seems to be very houses not getting on well with each other.
Kind of like how frat houses on a college campus might get into minor disputes or disagreements, or attack each other socially.
If that's what happens, we don't have frat. What do they say?
Gotcha.
Frat houses. When we go to university, we are very well behaved, and we just all go there to learn.
Sorry, American
here. Whatever.
And we don't play in the library on chairs.
No, we don't. No, not at all.
Okay then, so we'll leave Gulliver in the library and Bartleby in his library, and we'll go over to Hazra and Hengist, who is going to Reginald's wine bar. And just before we get there, it's just coming up to 8:30, so we will take a quick 10-minute break, and for refreshments will be served. Grab a bio break, and then we will be back in 10 minutes, so it'll be 20 to the hour when we come back, and then we will find out what the people can, Hazra and Hengist can find out from at Reginald's wine bar. So please do come back. I hope you're enjoying the adventure, and we will see you all very soon. brilliant. I am putting us.
I am the law.
I think that. Do you know, Hazra? I think that's why it was in my brain, because I just seen your Judge Dredd.
I am the law.
I've actually just down here. Is it there?
I don't know, my eyesight. I'm wearing glasses.
Oh, you have one.
Yeah. It's a bookcase. Oh, awesome. I played that. It's brilliant.
Yeah. This is
Brilliant.
the
1991 or 1990.
Judge's Manual.
God, that's a blast from the past. And was it Games Workshop actually did that?
And look, this is my character. Because I really wanted to be a side judge, but I couldn't. But was it rubber ricochet rounds that you had?
Yeah, rubber ricochet.
Yeah,
Double whammy.
I really. Oh, do you want? Oh, look, Sector House.
Oh my god.
Oh, it smells all musty. Anyway, I'll put.
Well, if you don't take it out.
Yeah, it's right next to the original Call of Cthulhu game. Right, not the modern one.
I've got Brian Blessed here.
Yeah. Excellent. So we are. I'm warm. I'm just taking my hoodie off. Nothing else is coming off. Thank you for the welcome back, people. Yes, we are back, and we are heading straight over to Reginald's Wine Bar, when Hengist and Hazra are heading over there to meet up with. Is it the idea to meet up with Lord Ashton? Is that the idea?
Yes. Hengist is going there to meet with Lord Ashton, but also because Lady Harmony Rains has asked Hengist specifically to make sure he gets home safely. Happen in the first half of the session.
I was going to say, first thing you'll notice when they're walking down, Hazra will always be 3 paces behind Hengist, and he's learnt this from his times with his tribe, where he would walk around with his father, and he'd always be that respectful distance away. And same with the chieftain, he'd always be that respectful distance away. Yeah. So he's now playing that with Hengist.
Fantastic. And you sort of like, as you walk through the town, along Noble Hill, and then down into the this sort of like area here, down to about this road and this road here, and this sort of like area, sort of like round in this sort of like general area here, is sort of like the wannabes. It's either places that people own, it's for the nobility to frequent. They almost like feel that they're being peasants by going down there, if that makes sense. And sort of like a lot of the time they see it as being quite daring, and to go out and sort of like show that they are real people, even though they're not at all. And as Hengist walks down with Hazra a few steps behind, you notice, Hengist, that people are greeting you. The men are sort of like nodding their heads or lifting their caps to you, and a lot of the wannabes who sort of like want to make a good impression, sort of like bow a little bit lower or step to one side, and elderly men with their young daughters or their mothers with them, you notice that they're sort of like primming up their daughters as they're sort of, as you're walking by with your retainer, and they're almost like going like this, and sort of like pointing to their daughters as if to say, "This is a fine specimen for you. You could do worse." And the girls are just sort of like giggling and going red as you sort of like strut your stuff down to Reginald's Wine Bar. Reginald's Wine Bar is not a wine bar at all, so to speak. It just seems to be a house. That it seems to be like a gentleman's club. There's a couple of bodyguards or people who are not upper class but are dressed formally, almost like doormen outside a Regency hotel or something like that. And they're obviously letting some people in and keeping the riffraff, anybody without below a certain monetary value are not allowed in at all. And you approach, and they of course recognize you straight away, Hengist, and sort of like bow and nod their head, and one of them reaches their hand, sort of like darts out and turns the doorknob of the door and opens it and lets you in. And the first thing that hits you is the darkness of the room, even though it's mid-afternoon outside and it's still winter here in Lindo, so it's still a bit chilly. But when you go in, you notice that all the windows are shuttered off. The only light in the room comes from candles, or lanterns, or the fire that's lit in the corner. There's so many candles in here. Bartleby would be in awe of the number of candles, and they've made some really nice patterns, as the wax is melted over used wine bottles and things like that. They've obviously been here a long time, and there's been several candles, and there's almost like a damp smell in the room, as if it's not aired on a regular basis. But the thing that really hangs in the air is some kind of tobacco smoke. You're not too sure what it is or what its purpose is, but it seems to be quite sweet to the smell. Hazra, to you, this is quite alien. It doesn't smell like smoke from a fire, if that makes sense. It seems to be almost like thicker, and it seems to be rising up from a room full of people puffing on these things that seem to be bits of twig. They're about this, they're sort of like cylindrical in shape and about this and thing, and it looks like, as you walk past, you sort of like take a quick look, and it looks like it's almost like leaves wrapped up, and they seem to be lit at the end, and they seem to be sucking it in and then blowing it out. And
is it something like a peace pipe thing, or?
Well, yeah, it's the Red Indian culture's not been around here, and this is something weird that none of you have ever experienced. If Bartleby was here, you'll probably talk about it later on with him. He sort of like relates it to incense burning and things like that they would have in the church. But this definitely seems to be people puffing on it from their mouths, and the smoke is quite thick and sort of like lingers at the top, and there's almost like a low murmur of chatting that is punctuated at certain parts by guffaws of laughter. And you sort of like walk in and sort of like you pause on the threshold of the room, and it takes a while for your eyes to become accustomed to the dark. And Hazra, you're sort of like behind Hengist, and all of a sudden Hengist, you hear a voice. He says, "Hengist, my good man!" And this rather rotund man sort of like pops up, short and stout, and you recognise it as Reginald. And he sort of like comes over, strutting over, head down, almost like belly leading, as he comes across, and he sort of like takes one of these brown cylinders out of his mouth, and as he comes towards you, he just blows this smoke into your mouth. Just roll your willpower for me, please. Yeah, and you sort of like, you try to not to do anything, but you almost like lose control and go and he sort of like lets out a guffaw of laughter and whacks you on the back in a friendly, noble way and says, "Don't worry, I was exactly the same. Do come over. I think Ashton's over here with me. Do come across." And he sort of like brings you across, and he sort of like shouts out and says, "Bert, an extra chair here for my friend Hengist." And another chair is brought across, and there seems to be some kind of a table with these people, and you notice people from the party. And Hazra, you notice that their retainers or footmen are sort of like stood a little bit of a distance away from the back of the chairs, but still present, as if they're sort of like bodyguards rather than servants.
That's exactly what Hazra was going to be doing. He was going to be maintaining a guard stance around Hengist.
Yes, and they're sort of like, Ashton sort of like goes to get up out of his chair a bit and says, "Hengist, my man, do come and have a seat. It's wonderful to see you. Fine day it is, don't it? Would you like one of these?" And he sort of like hands over one of these cylindrical, long, almost like looks like cat poo in shape or something like that. And he sort of like says, "Would you like one of these?"
So Hengist will take a seat and say, "Yes, it's a lovely day, but I'm not quite sure what this is."
Oh, a
gesturing at the cat poo.
And Reginald says, "Oh, Ashton, he's new. He doesn't know the joys of our humble club here. Yes, just stick it in your mouth, Hengist, and we'll light it up for you."
Hengist will look at it and say, maybe next time.
Oh, come on, my good man. Don't be a wuss about it.
No, I think I'm all right, thank you. It's polite. It's very nice of you to offer, though.
It would appear that Hengist is too good to share our local thing with us.
Not that at all.
Roll your courtesy. You probably think it's...
I'm gonna like it. Can I reverse it, please?
The luck point's being used before any combat.
We're finishing now.
Yes, and he sort of like says, no, please. He says, "Okay then, so be it. It's just a joint. Don't be a baby," as Garish says in the chat. And they sort of like guffaw with laughter. And Ashton says, "What brings you here, Hengist, my good man?"
"Oh, I was dining with your wife after her invitation."
Oh yes, you had luncheon with Harmony,
yes,
didn't you? Yes.
Yes. And she just.
How was the food?
It was very good, thank you.
Yes. Our new cook is doing really well.
Yes. My compliments to him when.
Her.
Sorry,
my good man. We don't lower ourselves to be cooks.
My compliments.
Reginald says, "A woman's place is in the kitchen, in easy reach of the bed." And everybody goes, "Ah! Yes, let her out now and again, that's what I say."
Yes. Yes. Your wife just asked me a favour to make sure that you get home safe after your visit here.
Oh yes, she knows. Oh yes, she knows how I often come home after a visit to Reginald's. Yes, sometimes I get a little bit, well, you know what I mean, frisky, and everybody guffaws with laughter once more, and it's this sort of like Hazra, roll your. I think you do. You have a nature law skill?
I've got nature law.
Yeah, roll it for me, please.
I
Yeah,
will.
as this smoke hangs in the air, you suddenly remember where you've smelt this smell before. And it was when, on your travels across the steppes, when you engaged in a rather primitive culture that actually used it as part of almost like entering an hypnotic state or something like that. And you remember seeing the people hallucinating and gyrating madly around the campfire. And it's got that sweet smell to it, but a little bit. It started to hit the back of your throat, if that makes sense.
So it wasn't at the English market selection cigars.
No, it
No. No, yeah. Well, he was given, Azra was given something to put in the fire, wasn't he? From his
yes, he was a
his
small
master,
sachet.
yeah, the Brotherhood. Yes.
So, Master
yes.
Sir Hengist, are you here to escort me back, or?
Only when you've finished your evening, Lord Ashton.
Well, the sun has not. Reginald says the sun has not even set. Shall we say we make it an all-nighter, Ashton? Oh, Hengist, please join us. We like a good all-nighter.
Yes, of course, Lord Ashton and Reginald.
But, says Reginald, if you're staying with us, you're going to have a puff on this. Come on, Hengist. Let your guard down. Be relaxed. You know how it is.
Maybe a drink instead for the moment.
A drink? Oh, good idea, said Reginald. But, and a waitress comes in, will I have some of that stuff that I imported just a few weeks ago? Sorry, sir, do you mean the fiery stuff? Yes, fiery, my arse. Can't imagine that it's any stronger than ketchup, if you ask me. Yes, I will bring it. What sort of drinkware should I serve it with? Well, make it small. Yes, we'll have numerous attempts at it. Yes, my lord. And he sort of like comes back and he brings back what appears to be a very dark, almost like rusty bottle with some small glass containers, very small, almost like shot glasses. And Reginald picks up the bottle. He says, have no idea what this crap is. Says something like, burn your throat or something. Let's hope it's good. And he sort of like puts his hand on the stopper, on the cork, ready to give it a real yank as if it's going to have some resistance. And he sort of goes, poof! Oh my God, it wasn't even in there firmly. And one of the other men says, oh, that's what my wife says every night. And everybody goes, oh. And there's just sort of like pours out this liquid that, I kid you not, it's not amber. It is dark brown. It is dark brown, and it's still in liquid state. And he sort of like pours it out a little shot glass each, and hands it to you. And Reginald says, "Well, here's to a fantastic night." And they all sort of like put it up, and then they just go and knock it back in one. Yes, Hengist, what would you like to do?
Hengist knocks it back.
Okay, cool. Make an endurance roll for me, please. Yeah, you sort of like knock it back, and you resist the urge to cough and vomit as this fiery hot liquid. It's almost as hot as the magma that you protected Bartleby from all those years ago. And you feel it going down your esophagus into your stomach, and not gently going. It just feels that every inch of it is just sort of like ulcerating your esophagus as it goes down and sort of like going into the pit of your stomach. And you notice Ashton sort of like coughs and barfs a lot, and Reginald goes and whacks him on the back. Yeah, what would you like to do? Is the plan just to stay here all night and carry on in the festivities, or what?
He'll stay for a few drinks, but he's after sort of like 2 or 3 more, he'll sort of try to politely suggest to Lord Ashton that they go back. He doesn't want to say anything. He's not going to say anything about the event that happened in the house, but it's just like his wife wanted to have a word with him about something for the next couple of days.
Yeah, Lord Ashton sort of like says, "Oh no, I'm staying here with Reginald. HL will be fine. I often stay out late into the night. Please, come back for me in the morning."
With that, Hengist will say, "Of course, then I'll see you in the morning."
Oh, and Reginald sort of like reaches into his pocket in his trousers or down his pants and pulls out one of these rolled up leaves and sort of like holds it to you and says, "And have one of these before you go to bed, good man. You'll have a fun time."
Well, thank you, Reginald. And Hengist will take it somewhat. I can't think of the word. Not hesitant.
You notice that Hazra is staring at it as if to say,
dubiously, yeah,
or wantedly. You can't.
So
Hengist nuts.
Hengist will take it and say thank you, and then he will depart the Reginald's establishment.
Okay, so
like then wait outside so that Hazra catches up.
Can I just a quick question out of character? When is the actual hunt? Or don't we know yet?
Well,
it's not tomorrow, is it?
Oh,
this is the question in my head.
Good idea. No, Hengist knows that there's a series of about a week
that's fine.
Of merriment and socialising, and then there's the pre-hunt, and then the hunt. Okay, right. And Hengist, you do know that, and I think you got this in the last adventure, that it's not really a hunt, so to speak. The noble people stand there and beaters bash the animals towards them, and then the nobles just sort of like do the killing blow, if that makes sense. So they're not actually fighting.
Not actually fighting or hunting, no.
No, there is a rumour once that somebody actually killed the boar, and the noble just came over afterwards and just stood with its spear and then that was it. So yeah,
so Hengist will be waiting outside of Reginald's, so he'll, once he's left, he'll take a few sort of steps down, and then he'll wait for Hazra to catch up.
Yeah, and I can imagine you all as a party probably agreed to sort of like meet back at the Hairy Hobgoblin after you've done all your activities, and so you sort of like head back in that direction. And what sort of like Bartleby, you're coming from this. So like from this direction down to number 1, and Gulliver, you're coming from this direction, and Hengist and Hazra are coming down from the north, and you sort of like come to the area outside the inn, which is here. This is a Hairy Hobgoblin, so I'm just you should be able to move your characters.
Yeah.
So Hazra, no, okay, now stop moving them. Stop and let me put you in position. And you're sort of like, you two are probably round the opposite way. So you are coming back to the hairy hobgoblin, and you're sort of like talking to each other. And as you get to this part here, the street, there's plenty of people around still. You know, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock. So the sun's setting, you know, people are coming around lighting the lanterns. But there's quite a few people milling around. And it's as you are approaching, so you're far enough to not be seen, if that makes sense. But close enough for you to be seen, for you to see this. Because all of a sudden, out of the tavern, out of the hairy hobgoblin, staggers a rather dandy fellow. And he sort of like staggers out, and you can instantly see that he's sort of like, it's almost as if somebody's pushed him out, and he sort of like staggers out, and you instantly recognize him, all four of you, as the guy that you've seen before up at the house of Ashton and Harmony Lee. And he sort of like staggers out, and he turns round to the hobgoblin and he shouts at the door, and he says, "Well, you can keep your stupid food, I don't want it." And so sort of like turns round and staggers and waits momentarily. And he seems to be looking around as if to think, where is he and in which direction he is about to go. He doesn't look like he's staying where he is. What would people like to do?
Azra will point at him and then whisper to Hengist, "Isn't that the man who left the house?"
Why, yes, it is. Perhaps we should move to intercept him carefully.
I will follow your lead, Hengist.
So Hengist will start walking towards the hairy hobgoblin as if that's where he's going.
Okay, yeah. So what about Bartleby and Gulliver? What's going to be your plan? You can see this happening through people milling around. Either you're muted or not saying anything.
I was giving Chugawuk a chance to say something first, but Bartleby would just recognize him and start moving forward in kind of a curious, I know this guy, I should do something, but I'm just going to walk towards him.
Yeah, and what about Gulliver?
Gulliver is going to head into the hairy hobgoblin.
Right, so are you walking past him then?
Where's the entrance?
I'm just here.
I'm good. Right. Okay, yeah. So Gulliver's heading towards the entrance of the hairy hobgoblin. If it means walking past him, then he will just walk.
Okay then. So
he was going into a tavern.
Yeah. So the guy sort of like comes. You're Bartleby and Gulliver. You're sort of like walking, and Hazra and Hengist, you're following, and you notice that this dandy lad sort of like is swaying slightly, and he's sort of like walking by, and he sort of like passes near you, Bartleby, and sort of like bumps into you, and he sort of like goes, "Oh, sorry, my dear fellow. I hope you're all right."
I don't know.
Have a good evening.
Wait, I have a question for you, sir.
And he sort of like goes to walk past, then you sort of like say wait, and he sort of like goes a bit forward and tries to stop himself, and then the sort of like comes back up again as they go. He says, "Yes."
I was wondering if you knew where the
Speak, man.
Gulliver, where were we heading again? We need directions to
We were going to the Hairy Hobgoblin.
Harry and Bob is just there. Just there. But I wouldn't drink there.
Why is that?
Because it's rubbish. And the food tastes like dead cat.
Do you think that they use cat?
Mate, they could use anything. I tell you. Could use anything. And
I don't want to get sick. Is there alcohol acceptable?
he says, let's go and try it.
Let's do just that. I think we should.
And he sort of like wanders for a while, and then almost like semi falls and staggers, and starts to head down this alleyway. Hengist and Hazu, you see him after a brief exchange with Bartleby and Gulliver. You see him stagger down the alleyway. Just to let you know, he doesn't look like he's escaping. He just looks like he's staggering.
Going a random direction. Yes.
Yeah. So you the party are probably.
As will again lean over to Hengist and say, perhaps we should not commandeer him. Maybe we should follow him and see where he's going.
Yes, that seems to be a good idea, Hezro. Let's do that.
Okay, and what about Bartleby and Gulliver? Is your plan to accompany Hengist and Hazra as they follow him, or to do something else?
Yes, for Bartleby.
Okay.
No, for Gulliver. He's heading into the Hairy Hobgoblin.
Okay, to do what?
Once he gets inside, he wants to take his position in his normal chair that he sits on, and he wants to cast a spell.
Okay. What's the spell you're casting?
I'm going to combine two spells together, so I'm going to be doing Project Sight and Project Hearing.
Right, so just to... and is the idea just to follow and be a viewer about what's happening with...
Well, yeah, I mean,
cool.
His view is to follow, but of course he won't be able to be spotted at all.
Yeah, cool.
Unless they're using magical means.
Excellent. So, how many points of shaping are you use? You're combining two spells, so that'll be 1 point of shaping, won't it? And what magnitude are you casting it as?
And I'll work out if you want to go on to the other people, because it's going to take sort of like 3 turns to cast anyway. Yeah,
and see, if it's 3 turns, that's like 6 seconds. That's what I was trying to, and I was trying to work out how long it's going to take you to cast it, so I know how far their people would have actually travelled.
Okay, so you just bear with me. I'll just pull up my my list so that I can.
Yeah, so I've got my calculator here as well. So, and the other thing is to duration. It'll be range that needs to be the other thing. If they wander out of range.
I'm going to put 7 points into range, 1 point into combined, and 2 points into duration.
So that'll be your power times 3 for duration, won't it? I think your power's 50.
That's 45 minutes.
Yeah, brilliant. Magnitude is going to be
Just one.
One, and then your range is going to be how many points?
Well, magnitude. So magnitude is going to be sort of none.
Okay then, and your range is going to be how many points?
7.
7. Okay then. Yeah, so 7 will give you kilometers according to your power, so 15 kilometers. Yeah. Okay then. So roll your invocation roll just to make sure you can get it off. It's just whether or not you fumble or get it for free.
Okay. So duration was 3. Range was 7. Targets is just me. Components modified is 2. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the thing, and then by invocation roll.
Yeah, that was cool. So you cast that spell, and then you catch up with.
I'll use a point of luck to re-roll it, please. That one succeeds.
Right. Did they? Oh, because it needs to be hard, doesn't it? Because you're casting 2 spells. Yeah.
So the first one was a 69.
Yeah. So you use your point of luck, and lucky for you, you managed to pull both spells off. Probably because you're not used it a lot, and you pick up the party in the rest of the party in a moment. So Hengist, Hazra, and Bartleby, I assume you're walking roughly how you're walking there.
Yeah, and Bartleby is getting really like frantic, like glancing, not saying much, but like looking at the guy and them.
Yeah, and you sort of like you're sort of like moving round the streets, and he's sort of like moving around, and he keeps bumping into people and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then moving off. And he turns down this road, and you're some distance now away from the hairy goblin, but in enough distance for Gulliver's spell still to be able to observe it. And he goes down that alleyway or that road, and you people come to the almost like to the edge of it here, and probably you, Hazra, sort of like just have a quick look round in order to see what's happening. And you notice that at the far end of the street, he's looking to the east. So he's looking towards this part here. He's actually been stopped. And he's been stopped because there are 2 people stood in front of him. They look, I'm just trying to find my tokens. Here they are. They're not this big, don't worry. So there seems to be 2 of these. They look like street ruffians. They look like common or garden thugs, and you notice that he's obviously gone past the group, and then the front 2 have sort of like stepped out, and the back 2 have sort of like closed ranks behind him. Does that make sense? And he's sort of like in the end, and you can hear the conversation, Hazra. It's not guarded or anything like that. It's not hushed. It's quite loud, and if anything, the dandy fellow is actually almost like projecting his voice like drunk people do. And as you sort of like get to the edge, you sort of like peep round, or you just have a quick look round, and you hear the guy, the dandy fella, says, "I said I would have the money, and I will have the money." And one of the ruffians, one of the ones in front of them says, "But you said you would have it a long time ago, and you have still not delivered it as promised. But I'll have it soon, and then you will get it. So just tell him, Archie, my good man, you are becoming a little bit, well, unreliable. And you know what unreliable means in our trade." "What? Unreliable?" "Yes, Archie, my lad. You are becoming unreliable. And where do you get those poncy-looking clothes you wear?" "These are the best silk clothes ever." "Looks like a tart," says one of the other. "Looks like a fancy boy, if you ask me. I bought these fair and square with your boss's money." Archie, never try to actually influence us when you are under the influence. And one of the bad guys goes, that's a joke, that. And the front one just sort of like looks at him. He says, "Oh, sorry, boss. Sorry." Like this. But yeah, what would you like to... Hengist, Hazra and Bartleby, what would you like to do?
Hazra will whisper very quietly, because all this hubbub's going on in front of him, so hopefully he'll be the noise will be disguised, and he'll say to Hengist...
You can always hope.
You can always hope. Hengist, it seems you're using these ruffians to get to repay some money of some kind, and they are like saying that he has owed them for a very long time. And then should we help him, or should we just watch what goes on?
I think we should wait for a moment and see what happens. We can always move in if needed to look after him.
I agree. I don't want to jump into this hornet's nest and find out that I'm going to get stung.
Anyway, Archie, we do believe that you will get the money for our boss, but we figure you need a little bit of an encouragement. Don't you agree, lads? "Oh yeah, I what's encouragement?" Says the one at the back, and the guy, the sort of like the leader, sort of like rolls his eye and say, "Show him what encouragement is." And Archie goes, "Well, actually, encouragement," and also go poof like that as one of the other guys just whacks him across the jaw with almost like a left hook, and he sort of like a boom like that, and he staggers for a while, rocking, and then goes, "That hurt," and sort of like crumbles down onto the floor. He is now prone on the floor. Hengist, Hazra, Bartleby, what would you like to do? I can't find my prone icon. Oh, there he is.
Again, Hazra will relay what's happened to Hengist, and he'll be saying, "You're not wearing your armor, are you?"
I think everybody came to luncheon with their...
We went to lunch. And we were fully kissed out, were we?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we were told to go.
Oh, my apologies. Sorry.
The arms. So yeah, Hengist is wearing full armor.
You probably won't have your...
No,
you probably have your
right.
sword, but probably not your shield, because that would be really...
Not the bacon. Yes.
Look at my shield.
Yes.
Okay.
So what would the three of you like to do?
Well, you will see. They've just punched him. They seem to be teaching him a lesson with no mortal intent.
I don't think we should get involved unless it seems like they are about to kill him, because we may want to follow them to see where they're going. Because they could have instructed him to do something, maybe.
Or perhaps maybe we could rescue him and find out of him what they are doing.
Well, one of the there's a sort of like ooh sound as one of the guys at the back sort of like kicks Archie while he's down on the floor.
Hengist, it's your call. What do we do?
Let's see if we can pick him up and rescue him. He may be indebted to us, as you suggest.
Right. So,
Are you going to rescue him? Is that the plan?
Hengist is happy to.
Okay, cool. Well, in which case, roll some initiatives for me. Make sure you click your character so you appear on the thing.
Initiative. What are you on my sheet? There you are.
My initiative bonus, since Hazra and I tied, is a 9.
89.
It's a 9.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Broken Hand Bartleby as an 89 for initiative.
Yeah, that's the way we roll. Mine's 11.
Yeah, I assumed yours was higher than me. I just wanted to.
Well, you never know.
8,
Well, it happens.
8.
It's based on intelligence, isn't it, I think?
No, it's 2 scores, I think.
Yeah, what is it?
Right, okay then. So we're moving into combat rounds. So Hazra, you will move first on 16. What would you like to do?
I would like to move behind. I'm assuming they're focused on kicking him and just giving a good old beatdown. So Hazra wants to quietly and stealthily move behind this one here, with trying to stay out of eye shot of this one here.
Okay, so roll your stealth skill.
Oh, I'd like to use a point of luck, please, to re-roll that.
Okay.
I'd usually like to use it. No. No, I can't use it on the same skill twice, so no.
Correct. So you sort of like head out on 16. Bartleby, you are on 16.
I would like to place my hand on Hengist if he's in touching range.
Yeah.
And give a prayer that Amriel will
Protect him. Protect and serve.
I want Amriel to make his blade sharp and quick so that these enemies go down quickly and
Nice.
more death.
So that's blade sharp coming on him. Is it?
If it didn't click.
Yeah, blade sharp. Yeah.
And here's my power. Can I use a point of luck to reverse?
Yes, by all means. So you've got blade sharp. So Hengist, your weapon will go up a damage notch. So what? Just increase it. You could probably see Bartleby's spell as it goes. On 15, the thugs act. Hazra, you sort of like shimmy your way down, but you suddenly realise that this is not. This is not the outdoors, and you sort of like try to edge yourself down, and as you get close to them, what one of them says, "Oi!" It was sort of like this one here says, "Who you?" And you notice that they draw something from their belts. It seems to be, it looks like a sap a short, light little truncheon. And they, on their action on 15, they draw them. Gulliver, you're on 14.
I'll just observe.
Okay, and Hengist, you're on 12.
So with that, I'm hearing the startled, "Who's that?" Hengist is just gonna turn and walk down the middle of the alleyway, trying to make himself look as big and threatening as possible.
Cool. So move yourself to where you would like to be.
There, so he's not quite in. He's just sort of like a meter.
Are you going into combat or not?
No, not yet.
Okay, so you're
He's
walking.
He's going to turn around the corridor, turn around the corner, walk down the middle of the alleyway, looking as big and threatening as possible, and just shout, "Leave him alone!"
And then stop.
And then stops.
Okay,
like,
then, yeah, absolutely fine. Okay, then. So we're now going into turn 2. So Hazra, we're back up to you.
Hazra wants to use a free action, and he's cast his mind back, and he doesn't want to use deceit or anything. He just wants to say an offhand sentence, if that's okay. Does he need to roll for it? If in my mind, because it's just an offhand thing. He wants to say. Sniffer is disappointed in you.
Okay, so hang on. If you are using it as a skill, then that will be your action. If you're just saying it, then there'll be no roll made against it. It'll just be like
that's right. I'm just literally just saying it.
That's
Sniffer
cool.
is disappointed in you.
And
then with that, I want to thrust my short spear into the one in front of me.
Cool. Yeah, roll away.
That's a bad roll.
So this one in front of you will try to block it or parry it with his little sap that he's got out. Let's just see here. There. Skill 52. So he tries to parry it but fails. So I need special hit location damage.
Choose location. It's going to be chest, and your damage will be 2.
Chest. You whack it into his chest, and it glances off some kind of leather armor that he's wearing on his chest, and that's 16. 15. This person here sees you try to stab his friend. He's not in combat, so he makes a run for it. He just turns round and runs, and sort of like gets out the way. These two sort of like see you there, but they almost like can't resist dashing off, and they stick the boot in to Archie, who's Bartleby, I didn't have your go, sorry.
That's okay. I was going to say something, but all I was going to have Bartleby do is move up to the building so we can peer around the corner.
So
I kind of felt like you had
move him up to there. That's absolutely fine. Okay, then. So they're going to kick the boot in. Their combat style is thug bullying, which I think is absolutely brilliant. It's 52%. The first one tries to put a foot in his face, but Archie manages to get his hands up, and the other one, the other one hits, and will do choose location on his head, and will roll his damage of 1d6 in Archie's head. 4 points of damage.
Archie's dead.
No, he sort of like whacks him into his head. it doesn't look like it knocked him out, but you do hear a bit of a crack. And that's 15 ups. Gulliver, you're on 14.
I'll just observe.
Okay, then. And then Hengist, you're on 12.
So I'm going to say what I'd like him to do, and then you tell me if it's possible. So Hengist would like to draw his sword and walk forwards so that he's sort of like standing within combat distance. So he wants to move into combat with the two that are kicking 7 shades out of Archie, and at the same time draw his sword if it's possible.
You're not.
If not, then he will just sort of like move to stand over Archie.
Yeah, you could probably move and draw your sword and get up to Archie. Archie is classed as difficult ground at the moment.
Okay.
To sort of like go over him. So you can and you can't move. He's also classed as he's not friendly to you. So normally if that was Hazra, you would be able to move through it, but it's not. So you sort of like move up to that on 12. Okay, combat round 3 for anybody who's still got actions left. So Hazra.
Yes, indeed. I would like to. I'm going to hit my spear again because I can't compel surrender, so I will do it now. Spear. Come on, thank you.
That took a time. Yeah, that's hit. I need special hit location damage.
Okay, he'll do it again. He'll go choose location, chest. Damage will be 6.
Oh, that's a better shot.
Thank you. I'll drop my pencil.
Yeah, and you managed to find a gap in the armor or go through his armor. You touch some flesh, but it's just a minor nick into his armor, into his body. Bartleby, you're up if you have any actions left.
Can just stop one thing. Did the guy I hit the first time, the one in front of me, he didn't have a go at me, did he? Or was
he used his action to parry a blow.
Oh, right, sorry.
So his first action was to draw his weapon, and then the second one was to parry, so he didn't have any hit back. Bartleby.
I also only have 2 action points.
Right. So. Darth says the next time Bartleby puts his hand on Hengist's shoulder to say a prayer, just want him to say, Hengist, may the force be with you. Always.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bartleby done. Thugs out. Gulliver.
I'll just observe.
Okay. And Hengist, if you have any actions left, what would you like to do?
Hengist does. Hengist, so he can't go through. So Hengist wants to, although he's got his sword in his hand, he wants to. You can
now close range and engage with one of the thugs if you wish.
Battle cry.
No. What Hengist was thinking of doing was, although he's got his sword in his one hand, he was going to try and grab hold of like Archie's collar or something, and try and drag him.
Okay then. So roll you sort of like bend down and try to, without exposing yourself to a blow. So roll your unarmed combat skill.
Where's that gone? That's there.
Yeah, so you reach down and you grab hold of Archie's collar. There's a bit of a grunt as you do it. So your next action, you'll be able to use your brawn to start pulling if needed. Okay, combat round 2, turn 1. Hazra, we're up to you.
Rinse and repeat. He will thrust out, and he's seen that little chink in his armour. He's going to go for the same point again.
Nice. Oh. So this guy quite naturally will try to parry it in any case, but he only gets a 12.
So close.
Which means you actually he fails. You actually got the because it's a differentiated roll. So you actually win. So you will have your special hit location damage.
So 2 specials, isn't it, as well? So I get bypass armor, and then choose location. Is that okay? Is it two specials?
No, it's only one special. That could be a crit. If he had failed, it would have been 2, because you'd have 2 levels.
Right, I understand. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Again, choose location, chest again.
Okay.
Short spear again is 6.
6. But 6. 4. Right. That's actually taking him into a serious wound. So he's going to roll his endurance. Which is 52. Which he makes the roll, which means he hasn't passed out, which is a good thing. But let me just check. No, actually, he doesn't, because his endurance roll is. I think I'm right in this. His endurance roll is to your original damage roll. That's what it's opposed by, and yours is a critical, and he just makes a normal. So he's failed that compared to your thing. So he actually goes down, and he'll be out. How much damage did you do?
6.
6. So he's actually down and out for 6 minutes now. So he is. You slice it in. You probably slice it between.
The arm and the breastplate, and just
and it sort of like goes through, and you sort of like pull it out, and he sort of like looks at it, puts his hand on it, and it's sort of like you can see the blood seeping through it, and he just sort of like collapses. He goes a little bit pale, and then just sort of like collapses to the ground. And that was on 16. Bartleby, you're on 16 as well. What would you like to do?
Going from looking around the corner, he's going to move up to about here.
Okay, cool. And at this point on 15, these guys, these 2 guys here, they're not in combat because Archie isn't fighting back, and Hengist has got hold of them. They've just seen one of their mates get kebabbed by Hengist and his short spear. So these 2, so like one heads off this way, and the other one heads off in this direction, running. What one of them probably shouts, "Get out of here!" "Oh yeah, okay, I'll get out." And he sort of like turns around, bumps into somebody, then turns around the other way, and just sort of like heads off. Gulliver, you're on 14.
I'll observe.
Okay then. And Hengist, you're on 12. So roll your just roll your brawn skill for me. Yeah, and you easily pull Archie sort of like away. You've got him sort of like sat up now. You can see there's blood coming down from some kind of head wound. It might be across his nose, it could be on a temple. He's definitely has some kind of light wound there, but he's just like, he sort of like goes, "Oh, I'll get them," like this. What would you like to do?
So Hengist will say to Archie, say, "Well, we've saved you from those ruffians. Let's get you to a safe place, and we can patch you up and talk."
Oh, well, yeah, I can talk. I can.
Hengist will also sheath his sword at this point as well.
Okay. So what about Bartleby and Hazra? You've got a dead body in front of you, or an unconscious body. Is there anything you wish to do with that?
Yes, not when I turn around. It's behind me.
Just walk away.
Yes, walk away.
Nothing to be seen.
Yes.
So when
he won't. This is street. In his mind, this is some robber who's just come to rob an innocent person.
Yeah, he's not.
He's heard the conversation, but Okay.
He's not dead. He's just literally unconscious. So is the plan to where you're going to, the three of you, where you're going to take Archie?
Did not we have this place that we could? No, I'm thinking the access place we had where we tied up those people last time. Could we not get back in there again? Do you know what I mean? When we went into the sewers, before we went into the sewers, we captured the captain of the sheep.
Perhaps we should just leave the alleyway first and head towards the hairy hobgoblin-ish and discuss this on the way. I don't really want to be seen next to.
Well, that's true. But
at that point, and saying, as Hengist says that, he's going to be helping Archie up. It's like letting Archie lean on him so that we can start walking.
Okay.
Bartleby wants to stay to cast a quick heal prayer. I know you said serious wound. I just want to heal prayer as a minor folk spell is going to stabilize him without healing him, because I'm going to feel guilty if we leave him to die in a filthy alley.
Hans just going to run over and stab him with a spear.
Sorry, is that stab Bartleby or? Yeah.
Here's my roll. If you
Oh,
my last point of luck to reroll.
Yes, by all means.
He was mugging somebody.
I guess Amriel doesn't want him to be alive.
Exactly.
Amriel does not want this.
Walk away. Walk away.
But just to let you know, Bartleby, you can tell everybody anything you want.
He's fine. He's fine.
He doesn't lie.
Really?
Gulliver, you're still projecting yourself on the street. You can see the rest of them heading back to the hairy hobgoblin.
No, we do not need to go to the hairy hobgoblin.
Sorry, that's what I say. The warehouse was actually lent to you by your previous patrons. So it's not something that you can
it's
go.
It's not available to us now.
No.
Right.
So
Gulliver's going to follow them wherever they're going.
The party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. Yeah. Okay then. So you probably take him back to the hobgoblin, and you sort of like take him in, and Basil makes an appropriate comment. It's sort of like he says, "Hey, he's barred."
Well, what do you mean, Basil? Can he sing?
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to make a suitable comment. Yeah, and he's the Bartleby will probably. Do you wish to come to his aid, Bartleby, or Hengist? Does anybody wish to come to his aid, or just say no, we're right, and kick him out?
So Hengist will say, well, we found him being attacked by muggers, so if we guarantee how he'll behave himself and he stays with us, is it all right, Basil?
He says, it's on your head, Master Hengist. If anything happens, last time he puked all over the fire. This place smelt like vomit for weeks afterwards.
I'll keep him on a tight leash.
And you sort of like bring him to the table, and you hear sort of like there's a group of people that sort of like point at him and laugh out loud. You notice that he's got now that he's sort of like sat down, Gulliver's there as well, sat in his normal seat. You notice that it's probably some kind of minor wound, Bartleby. It's sort of like cut across his temple and the bridge of his nose, and Archie has got to that drunken stage when he's now bestowing upon you great gratitude, and has started to say, I love you all so much. You are so kind to me. I really don't know how I'm going to repay you.
Yes, well, you can first of all you can repay us by being a little bit quieter. We have a couple of questions.
He goes, yeah.
I could ask Amriel to make him more agreeable, Hengist.
And he suddenly goes, Budum.
Amriel works swiftly.
All right, I'm gonna walk over to him. I've got a couple of prayers on docket for tonight.
The question is Amriel with you?
The first one, I want to perform a miracle of purity. This one.
Okay.
To attempt to cleanse him of the poison in his system. It's a hypothesis.
Okay.
Here is my exhorting of my goddess to cleanse him.
Okay. And what's your other role?
I want to put my hand on his head and try and rid him of his head wound with a deserving request. And I think that's all.
Yeah. So, the actual heal spell is the one because it actually cures hangovers and alcohol poison, etc. And that's sort of like your second one. The first one you don't feel that there's any poison in him, but the second one sort of like removes his hangover or his alcoholic state, and he suddenly sort of like comes up and sort of like says, "Who are you?" You're probably
by the glory of Amriel, we are the Fantastic Four, apparently.
And he sort of like looks over to you and says, "Well, can I just say thank you, Gloria? I really do appreciate it." And then he goes, "Oh shoot, I've got blood down my fine outfit." You do notice that, or hopefully you notice from the role playing, that his accent has somewhat changed. And you do notice that he's got drips of blood down his outfit. Gulliver, I presume that you have cut your spell?
Yes, yeah. I have. Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as I come back into the hairy.
Yeah. So Gulliver, well, anybody who's got a commerce skill, roll your commerce skill for me now. Yeah, his clothes look mighty fine. They look. There seems to be a mismatch between his clothes and him and his actions. You don't think somebody would dress up like this to actually come into the hairy hobgoblin.
We have questions for you, Archie.
He says, "Are you with the constables?"
Hengist, would you like to answer that? Bartleby will go back and take a seat.
So we have questions, leave it at that.
We saved you from those muggers, and you promised to repair, so we're calling upon that promise and asking you a couple of questions.
He says, "I owe you that debt." He says, "Ask you a couple of questions."
Who were the muggers? Were they, what did they want with you?
He says, "I owe them money."
I see.
That's not what he asked, Archie. Yes. Who were the muggers? Who do the work for?
He says, "Probably the shark that I owe money to." Just to remind you, I don't know, you are all not Hengist's retainers in this situation. This is a hairy hobgoblin, so there's no real need for Hengist to lead the conversation. I see that when you're in in the noble state, but here you're all friends together. I think what we all do, and I know it's still about 5 minutes, but so you can have a think about it ready for next time. I think this would be a good point to pick it up in the next session. So we can pick it up next week, or if we're available next week, with the interrogation of Archie, which will allow you to have some time to sort of like think about questions you want to ask and how you're going to I'm not going to use the word interrogate. I'm going to use the word question, and like that. So yeah, so I think that would be a good place for this week to just pause it. So next week we can come back and pick it up from this place. Just to let spellcasters know, then what we'll do after this part has been done, there will be a night's rest before the next part. So spellcasters, you will then get your magic points back. Okay, so not that you're going to suddenly blow it, in the first 2 minutes of the games, but yeah, so you can have that. So just so you know, you're not going to be without magic points for the whole of the second session. So yeah, so we'll come back to this point when we're actually questioning Archie and seeing whether or not you can get to the bottom of who he is, what's his clothes that he's wearing, and why have you seen him twice up at the house. And those would be 3 good points to try to I was going to say execute, but that's probably not the best word to see if you can find answers to. Brilliant. So yeah, we'll leave it there for this week, and then we'll pick it up next week. Thank you to everybody who's come along and watched tonight. Thank you for the hosts, the raids, and also for the donation of the little bitties. Thank you very much, NNG, for that. Your session either must have been cancelled, NG, or hasn't gone on tonight, because you're normally playing D&D the same time as we're playing in Tall Squall's campaign, so maybe it got cancelled, I don't know, or finished early. So we will be back next week. Does anybody in any of the players have any announcements that they would, or things that they would like to say? No,
I do not.
None from me.
No, brilliant. So we will catch you all next time. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. If you are interested in seeing the previous adventures, then do go along to the website, my YouTube channel, my website. You can find me across the internet just using the following link, and all my social media accounts are there. And if you want to see some actual plays of the adventures, then they're all on my YouTube channel, and with the adventure notes that I write to accompany the channel on my webpage, which is inwills.co.uk. Don't forget, there is a podcast to do with Mythras, and I'm really excited because we have cracked the continent of Africa. We actually had 2 plays in Africa this month so far. So I just
were they princes trying to tell you something?
So I've only got Antarctica to go, and then I'm across all the continents, which I'm looking forward to trying to get somebody over there to listen to. So if you're interested in the rule system, then do go across and listen to the podcast, and also you go along to the YouTube channel and listen to how we actually play. Until next time, I please like to say to each and every one of you, please remember to be who you are and say what you think, because the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. Have fun, everyone, and I will catch you all later. And until then, we will all say goodbye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye.
Bye.
This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved.